knew that running your own cult would involve so much poop sweeping? Today we're going to be talking about Cult of the Lamb by Massive Monster and published by Devolver Digital. And the first thing you need to know about Cult of the Lamb is that it's actually 2 games in 1. You've got combat and exploration, which involves you fighting enemies and fighting bosses, collecting weapons. And then you've got the cult simulator section of the game, which involves you telling your followers what to do, building things for them, and sacrificing them as well. And while these 2 sections of the game do work in tandem, it's worth talking about them separately just so you can wrap your head around this whole thing. Because there's actually a lot going on under the hood in Cult of the Lamb. So to get things started, let's chat about the combat in this game. The overarching goal of Cult of the Lamb is to defeat the 4 main bosses of the game they're referred to as bishops. And each bishop has their own area dedicated to them, so your goal in each area is to find them and kill them. To work towards that goal, you've got to go on crusades through each area. At the end of each successful crusade, there's a mini boss, and if you do that 4 times, you can then fight the area's bishop. So let's talk about each crusade and how they usually go. At the start of every crusade, you're given 1 weapon and 1 curse. So you'll use these items to fight enemies, and you're going to do that using very snappy controls. This game features a dodge roll, so I think that makes it a Souls-like. I'm kidding, please don't come at me in the comments. I know it's not a Souls-like, but this game is more of a roguelike. Every map is randomized with a set of rooms that you can find that'll give you more resources, more tarot cards, which are like buffs that last during crusades, enemies to fight, strong enemies to fight, and overall things that you'll need on your journey. And while I don't think it's necessary for you to become very skilled in Cult of the Lamb, your skill does determine how fast you're going to move through this game. That being said, you can absolutely abuse the dodge roll, and I think it's made for that because there are certain screens that are just so busy you don't know where you're at, you don't know what enemy's going to attack next. That's usually when I spam dodge to just find myself and get out of the way of any attacks that I might not even see coming. There are certain weapons you might enjoy more than others, and while it is good to have preferences, you might not want to get too attached. The game is a roguelike, which means random stuff's going to happen, so you're going to be given random weapons at the start of every crusade. You can't quite control which ones, although there are perks that let you get weapons of a certain type at the beginning of a crusade, but you can't really rely on getting an axe or a sword or a dagger or whatever you like to use. You have to sort of get good with all of them. It's always nice when your favorite weapon shows up, but it isn't hard to learn the other weapons, so don't be too shy or too stingy. It's worth learning them all. And once you clear an area, you move to the next section and you can choose what you're going to do. You can go to an area that has more wood, or an area that might heal you, or an area with more fighting. That's up to you when you clear an area. And so by continuing this process of clearing areas out, surviving, and moving to the next one, you'll fight the mini boss. And like I said earlier, this is the first of 4 mini bosses you have to kill, but you'll also get a follower from defeating them. It's actually really cool. You'll convert that mini boss to a follower and you'll see their skin is a little different. It's dedicated to that boss, and I actually enjoyed collecting them, but let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. So you finished your crusade and you're ready to settle down in your cult. It's time for you to tell the cult members what to do, whether that be farming or gather resources. And it's also time for you to build some buildings that'll help you make your cult more powerful. This includes a church so that you can hold sermons that your cultists need you to do so they can gain faith in you. There's a ton of decorations that let you customize your area as to how you see fit, so you can make your own kind of camp that reflects how you feel your cult should be run. You can name your cult at the start of the game. My cult was called the Cult of Dano because I didn't know what else to call it. I felt like calling it Cult of the Lamb was kind of cheap. It's the name of the game. Why wouldn't I just make my own cult? So I just used my name cut in half. Made sense to me at the time. So as you gain followers, obviously you have more people to now throw at things that you need to get done. And while they'll gain their faith in you from your success in the crusades, you'll also gain faith by doing individual tasks for them. This includes picking flowers for them or making them eat a bowl of poop. A little different than what I'm used to doing when it comes to giving villagers things from tasks, but Cult of the Lamb has its own kind of sense of humor, and that is clear in every part of this game. So while there's a lot of stuff that can go right with your camp, obviously they can believe in you and you can sacrifice them for the benefit of the cult. Somehow that's a thing. You can also have dissenters that try to poison your cult with bad ideas to get them to turn against you. I had one dissenter who I just tried to re-educate because the alternative is to kill them, and I just couldn't get them to come back to the light and to believe in me. And so at one point I just realized this dissenter was running for the gate of my cult, and then they left and took money from my cult's bank account. This actually happened twice. The second cultist took $69. I thought that was especially painful because they used the nice number to get back at me. But it's these little stories that happen as your cultists grow and as they level up and as their traits start to take hold. Because when you get a new follower, you're given the chance to review their traits, what makes them worth having, what makes them as a danger to your cult. So while it's good to have a lot of followers, it's bad to not check out your traits. I had a problem with this. Clearly I had people turning on me, so I needed to look at my traits a little closer. I had one bunny rabbit cult member that was like 48 years old, and the game told me that he turned old. This bunny starts walking around with bags under its eyes and a cane, and the cultist is like, "Oh, my bones are so old. I've lived a happy life serving you." And I was like, so sacrifice? I mean, what greater honor is there than to be sacrificed by your cult leader after saying that you're so happy with how your life has been and that you're old and you're weary, you're tired? It's time for the tentacle monster, I think. So I took the bunny and I sacrificed him, and my cultists were happy. The bunny seemed happy too. So, I mean, yeah, I'm happy with this decision. The cult was better for it. Because it was around that time that my cult was almost falling apart. One of the cultists said to me, "Hey, we're gonna leave in a mass exodus soon if you don't make us believe in you more." So I told my cultists that there's life after death and there's glory in death. And that's sort of how things got better. And it's these little things in the cult simulator portion of the game that make it so worth enjoying. So you might be thinking that the combat and the cult simulator work together, but not really that connected. And I thought that as well until I got a little deeper into this game. Without getting too spoilery, I want to talk about one more thing that happened in the second area of the game. I'm on a crusade, running around, collecting mushrooms, doing my thing, and suddenly this frog god shows up. And they tell me all these taunting things, how they're gonna make me pay, they're gonna make my cult pay, yada yada. I'm like, whatever. Get this dialogue over. I don't want to hear it. I just want to continue killing your minions. So at the end of this conversation, the frog god person pulls one of my cultists from the camp and into the instance that I was in and made them starve. So now I've got a cult member that's starving while I'm stuck away in a crusade, having to deal with enemies trying not to die, because if you die, cultists lose faith in you. But while you're in a crusade, the cult moves on, and in this case, my cult was suffering because the frog god just made them starve. So the two sections of the game are very good on their own. Actually, I feel like they could have been their own game. There's the roguelike combat game, Cult of the Lamb, and then there's the cult simulator game, Cult of the Lamb. They're both their own thing, but they work together really well. There are so many things to do in this game, and it seems like it should be overwhelming, but for some reason, I don't know if it's the UI or just the way the game's loop works, it just feels very cohesive. I touched on this a little bit earlier in this video, but this game's sense of humor is very dark and pretty funny. As a matter of fact, the entire presentation of Cult of the Lamb is top-notch. The music, the art, the way it plays, the way it looks, the dialogue, everything about this game visually and from a superficial level is very enjoyable. There is a plot too. A lot of the time you have roguelikes that don't really have a strong plot. They usually give you motive, but never really a story, and there is a story to Cult of the Lamb, so that's also there if you're looking for it. I didn't really need a ton of context as to why there's a cult being led by a lamb. I think that's hilarious because of the whole sacrificial lamb thing. It's funny to me, but it's really cool that there's a story behind it regardless. Just makes the whole package that much more complete. So if you're looking for a good simulator that's also a game with fun combat, then Cult of the Lamb is right up your alley. I'm personally enjoying this game a lot. It's making me laugh in ways that I wasn't really expecting to laugh. Things about the story that's being created by my own characters is hilarious to me. And the way this game's entire loop works, it keeps you engaged. You get excited for the combat when you're not doing it, and you get excited for the cult simulator portion when you're done with the crusade. And that balance is what I think makes Cult of the Lamb worth playing, and I really think you should give it a shot. So what do you think of Cult of the Lamb? What did you name your lamb? Let me know in the comments what you've done with this game, what you're enjoying about it, what you might not be liking about it. I want to talk about this one. It's weird, and I like it. And if you're new here, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I post videos about games all the time. I'm going to start doing more reviews, so keep an eye out for those. And let me know if you want me to follow this video up with a bit of a cheat sheet for Cult of the Lamb, because there's a lot of stuff that this game has. It might be a little overwhelming at first, but I feel like I have a good idea of what goes where, so let me know if you want me to make that. And in the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoy Cult of the Lamb, and I will see you guys in the next video.